You'll see. Tonight I'm gonna let the whole world in. Get a good look at me.
Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. Happy Halloween. Seriously, it actually is Halloween today, and it's Halloween on this week's episode of Coven. We learned that it is all-out war. Angela Bassett declared war against Fiona and her coven, and the Witches' Council is after her too. We also kind of learned what happened to poor Madison after last episode. We also learned that if you go on a date with someone you met in an obscure online community, it might not end well. So let's talk about the most important parts, and then I'll do my review. First off, Angela Bassett raises an army of the dead, declaring all-out war. I think Misty is actually going to be the solution to this problem because she is basically the physical embodiment of life on the show, and this is an army of the undead. So clearly she's part of that equation. We didn't get to see Misty in this episode, but we did learn that Madison is not the next Supreme, so I'm guessing that it's actually Misty just because she is so powerful. Maybe it's all the Stevie Nicks that gave her away, or maybe it's just the fact that she's so nuts. Don't you just feel like it's a very Harry Potter-esque theme that real power surfaces in the most unlikely of places, like the middle of a swamp? And let's talk about Halloween on the show. Obviously, Halloween is the witching hour, so you kind of expect this to be a really big deal this year because it's all about witches. But American Horror Story always does Halloween episodes really, really well. They just get super creepy and super amazing. Isn't it funny how Kathy Bates' character is slowly acclimating to modern life? I just love all the classic Halloween tropes that she's talking about with Fiona, and then later she just totally becomes this normal mom handing out candy to children. I thought it was an interesting twist that later her children actually came knocking at the door. But aren't you surprised by how afraid she is of all these things despite being so evil? I mean, how is she able to be this butcher of people but yet be so scared by the undead? I don't really understand how that works, but I do love how she's basically turning into this totally normal person on the show. Speaking of psychopaths, we learned so much about Hank in this episode. I don't know if his being a serial murderer has anything to do with their inability to have a baby, but it was really fun to see Alexandra Breckenridge come back on the show. Doesn't she get murdered in almost every season of American Horror Story, or at least she always plays a ghost or a dead character? I felt so bad for her, but don't you just feel like that moment was just a total anti-online dating PSA? Frankenstein Evan Peters only made a brief appearance in this episode, which was kind of a bummer, but there was a nice callback to the first season of American Horror Story with that person with the skull mask on. I thought that was really fun. I'm guessing that it's actually his and Zoe's storyline that's going to bring Misty to the Coven. Right now, they're Misty's only connection to the real world. She basically lives in isolation in the swamp. Since Misty is probably the next Supreme, her storyline has to start to overlap with Fiona's at some point too, and we're almost halfway through the season. So eventually those two people are going to start converging on each other. It was a bit of a tangent and a kind of a break in the intensity of the episode, but I love Myrtle's secret war against Fiona that's kind of extended over the past 30 years. It also gave us this really amazing backstory on Spalding and let us know that he is to be avoided at all costs. The quiet ones are always the creepiest. In the previous episodes, and especially in the last episode with the incident with Madison, we've kind of learned just how devoted Spalding is to Fiona. He seems more like a pet than anything else, but we learned exactly why he's doing all these things. For any of you that are Simpsons fans out there too, did you get this big Mr. Smithers vibe when you saw that big doll collection? There was actually a really funny classic episode of The Simpsons where we learned that Mr. Smithers, obviously Mr. Burns' lapdog, just like Spalding is Fiona's lapdog, has this massive collection of Malibu Stacy dolls. Poor Madison. Let's all hang our heads in silence for 2 seconds for Madison. Ugh. That is not a fate I would wish on anyone, even someone as horrible as Madison was. But what did I think of the episode? Overall, it's actually my second favorite episode of the season. I mean, I love Halloween, but Frankenstein Evan Peters episode 2, is still my all-time favorite. I really love the way Angela Bassett's character upped the ante by just declaring all-out war. The Army of the Walkers is obviously a really major event on the show, and we're not even halfway through the season yet. The witches trial kind of stalled the action just a little bit. I mean, it's nice to get those flashbacks and learn about these side characters like Spalding, but it really kind of stops the momentum of the show. It's really Angela Bassett's character that's driving the plot forward right now, but I'm hoping that Misty actually starts to converge with Fiona because that's the other major plot of the season, is basically the transference of power between these two Supremes. Where do you go from here though? Obviously, the next step is another retaliation. It's basically attack, retaliate, attack, retaliate. So now that Angela Bassett's character has made this major attack, what are the witches going to do to retaliate? What's Fiona going to do? Obviously, it's going to have something to do with Misty. I think that Misty is going to be part of the solution to this army of undead. But I'm really interested to see where the show goes in the next couple of episodes. There's actually someone coming that we haven't seen on the show before. Danny Houston, who's actually a pretty notable actor, is going to play this really awesome character called the Axeman. He's not coming for 2 episodes, But be sure to subscribe to get all my Coven videos because things are only going to get more crazy. I post all my Coven videos on Thursdays, so be sure to check back next week for the next Coven video. I'm also posting my next Game of Thrones video tomorrow, and Legend of Korra is back, and Walking Dead again on Sunday. In the meantime, if you really want to help me out, please like and share this video, and if you were really impressed with the army of zombies on this show, you can click here to watch all my Walking Dead Season 4 videos. That show is so amazing this year. And you can click here to watch all my other Coven videos. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Halloween, high fives. See you guys tomorrow.